You can get really good immersion without having all the stuff, the most expensive stuff, or the latest and greatest gear. You don't need to spend all your money. You know, immersion can be about just getting the right amount of gear, putting it in the right spot just to make things feel that much more real. And that's what I want to talk about today, because the right gear at the right time can make a huge difference. And yes, it's okay to want to set it up like this, and I think that should always be the goal. But there are so many ways to get there. This is a very small, space-constrained room. Some of you might not even have this room, and you have to work out of your bedroom. So there's other solutions I'm going to talk about today. Check this out. The same way I built that in there, you can also build a simulator rig. If you're smart about it, you can tuck things right underneath the stairs with just the right amount of gear. Maybe a little VR headset. You don't need room. You don't need 3 massive TVs. You don't need anything. You just need to have a dream and a desire. When you look at my setup, it might be a little bit difficult to relate. Well, I have 3 55-inch screens in a motion simulator. But if you try to deconstruct it and think about what you're actually looking at, maybe perhaps what you need is one TV. If you don't have a TV, perhaps you can go with a small monitor. Perhaps you don't need a racing bucket. Perhaps you don't need the aluminum rig. Why don't you build it out of wood? There are plenty of plans out there for free. Because I know that ultimately, as I said, immersion is the key. And maybe one day it can turn into a massive simulator. Because ultimately that is the goal. We are trying to simulate what it would be like to drive a truck. We just have to do it reasonably. So let me take you through some of the basic things that I think could add immersion to your rig without breaking the bank. First of all, let's talk about screens. Should you have 3 TVs, 1 TV, or 1 small computer screen? So in my current setup, I have 3 55-inch TVs with the ultra wide above it. But that wasn't always the case. There was a time when I was using just a small 50-inch TV. At one point, I even moved on to a projector. Projectors can cost just as much as a good TV. But if you don't want to do a projector and you want to stick to a screen, there are so many good options out there. As long as it's 60 Hertz, it should be just fine. If you take your time and do your research, you can find a TV for less than $200. Or look on Facebook Marketplace. A larger TV is always going to enhance immersion because the scale of it feels a lot more like a truck windshield. The rig, the frame that you're sitting in, do you need one? Should you build it out of wood? Or could you just sit in a chair and pull up to a table? So yeah, my rig right now is aluminum. It's measured to size, it's custom. I like going with smaller companies like Rig Metal. I'm going to throw their link in the description below. But honestly, that's not the point of this, because you don't need all this to get immersion. The easiest place to start is a wheel stand. That's it. If you already have a chair that you like, or a seat that you're already sitting in comfortably, you're already halfway there. And I'll be straight with you. For a long time, I sat on my couch. Like literally, my couch. Here's a picture. I did that for years, and I loved it. I never once thought, man, this sucks, I wish I had more. But yeah, from there, you can go and build something out of wood if you want. Just know that wood is not necessarily cheap, not anymore. And it takes time. And if you're not handy, it can turn into a whole situation. That said, there's a ton of plans out there on the internet for free. And there's also a lot of good examples online to let you know that you're doing the right thing or not. But if you want to skip all of that and go straight to metal rigs, there are some really good options out there. Quality has gotten a lot better than people think. Support is there too. I've dealt with it. But at the end of the day, a rig only has 3 jobs. The wheel should not move when you're steering. Your pedals should not slide when you're braking or accelerating. And when you sit in it, it shouldn't feel weird. It should feel like you're sitting in a vehicle. If those 3 things are right, you're gonna stop thinking that you're playing a video game and it's gonna feel more immersive. Clamping your wheel to your desk is just fine, but when things start to move, it's going to reduce your immersion. That's immersion step 2. The wheelbases. Yeah, if you want immersion, one of the biggest things is the things that your hands touch. And the first thing that you touch is the wheelbase. So I ask you, which wheelbase should we get? I'm gonna keep this one simple. If you're looking at a belt-driven wheel, please don't buy it brand new. Go on Facebook Marketplace and get something that's been lightly used. Wheels like the Logitech G29 and the Thrustmaster T300 are plenty, but they are old technology. Don't forget that. So it doesn't make sense to buy that anymore. You can, however, move on to newer technology like direct drive wheels. There's a lot of brands out there. One of my favorites is Moza currently. Yes, you can go and buy what's called the R3, which is a direct drive wheel, but the forces are really, really low, like 3 Newton meters. And that makes a difference. You might not like that. I'm being honest with you. So be careful. Don't let that low price of $279 get you, because when you're doing trucking and you want to experience the wheel or the torque steer or some of the engine vibrations, you might not get that with a 3 Newton meter wheel. So please be careful. The message is this: if you're budget conscious, go buy a nice used wheel. But if you buy new, make sure to step up a little bit so you don't regret your purchase. Lower powered wheels might be cheap, but they also don't deliver enough power. And remember, with the newer wheels, you can always upgrade your steering wheel until you spend a bit more money later on. Dashboards. You want to bring the truck from the game out to your real world. So how do we do that? Do you want to buy dashboards, or can you just use a tablet? In full disclosure, I sell dashboards. Please make sure to visit thesimsima.com for the Triple Tech or the Boss Hoss. Also, if you've seen some adapters or wheel adapters in this video, just peruse my website and you might find some really cool immersive stuff there. So yeah, having gauges outside of the screen is pretty cool, because many times, depending on the screen, you're actually cutting off your gauges, or you don't see your auxiliary gauges, especially on the American trucks where the whole right side is full of gauges. So what cooler way than to bring all of that stuff back out of the screen, out of the game, right in front of you. I personally offer dashboards and auxiliary gauges, but they might not be in everybody's budget, and I fully understand that. I do offer them in piece-by-piece assembly so you can build as you go. But in the meantime, it is okay to use tablets. I've been running tablets for many, many years before I decided to build my own dashboard. Tablets work. They always work. You can run dashboards, you can run button boxes, auxiliary gauges, or even trip information. Everything works. Some of the most famous programs out there are SimHub, but one that everyone skips is Sim Dashboard. You can use Sim Dashboard to send information from your PC wirelessly to a tablet or to your phone. If you don't have a tablet, because tablets are expensive, you can actually put this stuff on your phone. You can then mount it exactly where it makes sense for you. They make adapters on the side of your rig, or they make adapters for your wheelbase. You can just put your phone there. As long as it's readable and easy to use, it's doing exactly what it was supposed to do. So that is how to get an immersive dashboard. Button boxes. This is almost a premium. Button boxes are just about you not using that keyboard anymore. Because let's be honest, smacking that space bar is nothing like pulling or pushing a parking brake on a semi-truck. That has to feel tactile. And what makes it worse, after a while, you start to forget what key is what. So you keep reaching for your keyboard and you keep pressing things and you don't know what's happening. So a button box solves a lot of that. You can buy a lot of button boxes online. There are cheap ones, there's expensive ones, but they can fail, and some of them are just not worth it. Most of the really good ones are really, really expensive. I am the last guy to tell you to build a button box because I hate wiring. I know nothing about electronics or electricity, but even I managed to build quite a few already. So if I can do it, you can do it. Trust yourself. I'm not lying. Check this out. But we're not talking about that here, because even a button box like that is somewhere in the range of $160 of materials alone. Not to mention that you need a 3D printer and you need to know how to build a lot of this data. Yes, some of the data is available online and you can just kind of customize it, but I like to build my own stuff. Finally, if you don't want to build anything, the best option that I've found out there that's maybe not breaking the bank is the PXN button box. Yes, I know it's made for sim racing, it looks a little bit racy, and that's fine. But what it does is add the buttons that we're looking for. So you don't have to fumble for that keyboard anymore. Currently, as of the making of this video, I think it's going for $99, which is more or less affordable, but everything costs money, everything adds up, so I understand. This item will also add immersion to your rig. So you can take that keyboard and throw it away. And finally, shifters. As I said, if you touch it, it has to feel real. So with shifters, I have a good solution for you. Some of you prefer to drive in automatic, and I did that for many years. And some of you actually want to shift, but you don't want to spend the money on a shifter, so you will use the paddles on your steering wheel. You can't be blamed for that. But if you want to take it to the next level, and I gotta give a big shout out to my community. I've been called out for this for years. People in the comments would say, hey man, you wanna play this game for real? Why don't you shift real gears? For that, you can get the Thrustmaster TH8S shifter. That shifter at around $69 to $79 is all you need. Later on down the road, I got a Moza shifter. This shifter is a really, really good unit. But see, at the end of the day, it's not really the shifters that I'm after, because all they do is go into gear. So you choose whichever you want. Hey, as I've told you, you can go to Facebook Marketplace. That's probably the best place to start when we're doing a budget immersion build. What I do want to sell you is the fact that you can go on AliExpress, Amazon, or eBay and get yourself one of these knobs. These knobs get your shift all the way up to 18 gears. By using a splitter and a range, you can actually find all 18 gears, and that's what makes it feel really immersive. So yeah, you don't need to overthink this. All you need is a simple shifter and that knob right on top, because both together will add even more immersion to your rig. All right guys, so just a quick recap. A used TV on Facebook Marketplace, well, maybe 100, 120 bucks. A wheel stand, $100. Used wheel and pedals, another $150. The shifter and the knob together, $100. Button box, $100. The dashboard, well, you use your phone, so I'm gonna call that free. A chair or a couch, hey, if you're playing this game already, I'm assuming you have a chair or a couch in a house, okay? So the total cost is somewhere between $500 to $600, and I think that's pretty reasonable. But that does not have to be achieved overnight. Take your time. This is a hobby, and hobbies are built over time with passion and care. I hope this is helpful. These are just some of my ideas. I understand that my suggestions might not please everyone, and that there are many ways to do the same thing. That is why we have such an amazing community, the best community ever. Why don't you head down in the comments below and just give us more ideas. If there's something I missed, if there is something that I was off base on, please correct me and please help each other. This is about enjoying a hobby and making the best out of it. I wish you success, and if you have any questions, as always, hit me up below. All right, love you guys. See you soon.